Okay, thank you. Okay, so a while ago, Paul had asked me about some help in printing out this particular flyer because he took it out himself to gung ho and go to a bunch of grocers and ask them to post this sign in their stores. And I was like really impressed with that effort. And so I asked him if he would be willing to share his reason for motivation, like how it was received. Is it still being done? You know, just to kind of bring us up to date on some of that so we can get some information on how things are going. So, Paul, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, well, thank you, and thanks to everybody who's here. I just have a few things to say, and then we'll respond to your questions. I kept it very simple. It reminded me a lot of going door to door to do voter registration. I just found mostly the smaller stores, grocery stores. I did not call on restaurants that are in my immediate geographic area. Um, and I didn't get into any or very many heavy discussions about using reusable bags to brand their store or to offer incentives or rewards for people who complied with the idea of a reusable, recyclable bag. Um, I mainly just talked about the placement of the sign that that Pat showed, and asked them if they were willing to do that. The larger stores, the Jewels, the Walgreens, the Buteras, the Aldis, all put me on the corporate merry-go-round when I asked if something could be done in their local stores, and I never really got much of a response um, to bring back a decision from them. Jewel does have its own signs up welcoming the use of reusable bags, but the other stores did not. Um, and I brought a couple of bags with me. Let me see. Well, I guess I could share them at the end of what I'm going to say rather than breaking in here. But one happened to be from the Neptune Society. One was from Northwestern University. Um, they were canvas type bags. I had those as illustration. I always asked for the owner or the store manager, who would sometimes refer me to the owner, um, to make the final decision about my ask. Um, and oftentimes, as you would expect in a community like this, language could sometimes be an issue with Asian and Latino owners, trying to get myself understood and make clear what it was that I was asking of them. I I often wore my Sierra Club T-shirt, and I would say something like, "Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm a member of the Sierra Club, and our mission is to uh, promote a healthy environment in every way possible. And one of those ways is to increase the use of reusable bags like these for what we buy instead of using plastic bags. Would you be willing to post this sign near your entrance or your checkout area to get people to think about bringing their own bags and their own reusable bags to the store?" And then I would show them the bags. Sometimes, let's see, can I take a share for a minute, Pat?
Yeah, let me stop sharing this and
Okay.
then you should be able to share. I don't have any limitations on that, but go ahead. If you have a problem, let me know and I'll make you a co-host.
Yeah, it's still saying disabled
Okay, let me just
share
make
function.
uh, okay, I have to make you a host, so you might have to give it back to me when you're done, but okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay,
Um,
you should be able to see that now.
yeah, it just told me I was the host. So um, I let's see if I can find my share button here. Okay. can everybody see that messy picture of plastics there? So I would often show that to them just kind of as somewhat some inspiration. And besides the screen that Pat showed earlier, I had a simpler one, this one, that you know, I asked people if they were more willing to put that near their cashier station because it was brief and they could find an easy spot for it. But I did want them, if at all possible, to share um, the more robust screen, if you will. Let me see if I can get this stop share here. There we go. Okay. And what mainly happened was the signage was in these grocery stores. So I had on occasion someone would ask if I was selling the kind of signs that I showed. Oh, by the way, I should say that after I made my little talk about reusable bags, bringing them to the store, I showed them the bag and I showed them the sign, and then I shut up and listened to what they had to ask or what they had to say. And on occasion, some of the people would ask if I was selling those bags, and I would need to tell them no. No one asked about how I knew that plastic bags were bad. No one wanted to hear about research or hear about advocacy. They just thought about whether they wanted this thing to be seen by their customers or not. And then a couple of stores requested that I go and put the sign up where I thought it would capture attention, which I did. So Pat asked me if I had done any follow-up to see if the signs were still up in the stores some 2 months now after I did my initial campaign. And I have to admit that I only got back to 5 of I think it was 14 or 15 stores that I went to, and I saw the sign still up in 2 of them in the place where I had placed them. But that was the extent of it. I think that pretty much covers the process of, and I'm willing and interested in hearing what you have to ask or say.
Well, I had a question, Paul.
Uh-huh.
So you said that people weren't interested in why should they do this?
Right.
And I'm wondering if, there's been a lot of, I should say, I think there's been a lot of media about problems with plastic, I don't know if they knew about that or not, but I'm just curious if you think that if you included something like, do you know that there are particles of plastic in your body that can interfere with how um, the health of your body, in a very generic way? I just wonder if that would be like, oh, well, I didn't realize that. I heard all this stuff about plastics, but I didn't realize that. I was just curious, in terms of your dialogue, do you think that might have made a difference?
It could have. I had one article that was like that in my back pocket, so to speak. If there were any, if there seemed to be a an opening for that kind of
Okay.
discussion. But the couple people who there was really no one who wanted to have evidence placed to them. They sort of took it at face value that I was trying to push something that was good,
Hmm.
and they had to decide whether it was strategic to follow along or not.
I think that it's probably important to mention it just because a lot of people probably don't know that there are health issues associated with plastic, and they may think this is strictly an environmental issue. And so I'm wondering if something like some kind of an introductory statement on these signs, like we care about the health of our customers and our environment, or something like that. Just to kind of put it out there that, yeah, your health is, is a factor here. And I think that would do, I think, a lot to.
I think in certain of the situations that might have been true, Sharon, but mostly I was catching people literally on the run
Mhm.
with this dialogue that I was having with them. They were doing two other things while I was talking to them about
Yeah.
the signs, and I'm not sure that added input
Yeah.
would have gotten through, but I certainly don't think with some of them, particularly the ones who said no, I think that might have helped.
Okay.
Well, I think that there is
Lori
a,
has,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
Lori's had her hand up.
Oh,
I
okay.
just was wondering if you cold called on these people or if you'd made arrangements to talk to them ahead of time.
Yeah, I cold called, although a lot of it turned into an appointment because the manager wasn't there or the owner wasn't there, and I would find out when they were going to be there, and then I would usually call to make sure they in fact were there. And then I would go.
But it sounds like they didn't set aside much time for you to talk.
No, it was always very brief. I think the longest discussion were the couple where they wanted to know if I was selling bags and if I was, silk screening their brand name on the bags so that they might sell the bags or they might distribute them as part of some sort of customer reward. But none of the conversations were very long.
Hey, Pot, Roger here. Some people in stores worry about the stuff in their food. Actually, they read the labels and some don't care. I would say those people who read the labels, concerned about what's in their food, would be very interested in this when you say microplastics are in them and in the food.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And others you ain't going to catch. They're busy, they don't care about the environment. Plastic bags doesn't bother them. Microplastics doesn't bother them. I don't know what bothers these people, but that's the way it goes. We need to catch the people who at least have an ear who are sensitive about, stuff in their food that might catch them.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
I think that the Coalition for Plastic Reduction, I'll have to go back and see if I can find it. I think, and Sharon, you probably know this too. I think they had a one-page handout about like about the reasons why we have to start decreasing our use of plastics. And I was, wondering if anybody has any thoughts on this. Do you think that if you went into a grocery store and tried to do something of what Paul was doing, or even a restaurant? I mean, this is a grocery store, but I think this could be applicable to restaurants as well. And if you left them with a sign and left them with this one-page handout about the dangers or the problems with plastic, I wonder if that would help encourage them to actually post it. So I don't know. What do you think? What do you folks think?
We do have our flyer. I mean, it's
Right.
more than one page, but it's still pretty brief. It
Well,
does.
you mean about the brochure? Well, that's a possibility. That's a possibility to leave them the brochure too.
We were giving those out to restaurants, and also we talked about when we first started talking about grocery stores, that was part of the plan too, that we'd hand them that brochure, give them just a 30-second description of what the issues are and why why it's important and the ask. But yeah, we could still use that, and if we need to update it, we will. I mean, we could.
Well, I'll see if I can find that one-page thing, because as you say, the brochure is very good, but it's a trifold, and so people might be like, but a one-page thing along with the sign, I don't know, maybe useful. Is anybody else got any thoughts on that? Is there anybody who has tried something like this or what? Yeah, Jennifer?
Yeah, hi. I haven't been here in a while, so thank you for keeping this going. And the Coalition for Plastic Reduction does have a handy toolkit that has a bunch of stuff that could be used. And it could be it could be parceled out. Like you could use, there's also the one that was used for farmers markets that has a one-page section on the harms. So there's definitely things to use from the Coalition for Plastic Reduction. And kudos to you, Paul, for going to all these places, because I understand, like, part of the time you're banging your head against the wall and, you know, or like you said, chasing a guy on the run. My problem is, like, of course, like, I think this stuff is important about the health concerns, but when we're going after a manager of a store, I mean, they may say in their head, well, I agree this stuff is harmful, but how am I controlling all the people that are in my store buying foods that are packaged in plastic? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of overwhelming to that manager who's trying to manage his employees and make money. So it's great to hand him information that's on the health concerns, but I think we also just have to think, like, whether he thinks he can or she can implement it. I mean, I had a question, Paul, your sign that said, or we'll charge 10 cents. And the thing that went through my head was like, okay, does this manager then have to get permission from Jewel to say it's going to collect 10 cents? And how does that all work? Because then that has to be reported, because that's income. And so I get the sign that says, please use your own. We encourage you to use your own. I get how that one, they would allow me to go stick that on a wall. And I love the charging for the bags and all that, but I just don't. Anyway, it's very complicated, and you did a great job, Paul. All I'm doing is bouncing through issues, so I'll stop talking, but thank you for doing what you're doing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had a question about that too, because if there's enough time to ask that manager, what are your current policies about bags? Do you charge for bags? Which ones? Plastic, paper, etc. And then customize the sign to what they do, because it's gonna just run it into probably down a rabbit hole if you expect them to change their policy based on the sign. So, I mean, do you do that? Do you customize the signs for what the store actually can accommodate?
Well, I don't see why we couldn't do that. It would just be additional labor on our part, you know, to make that kind of thing happen.
That seems like not a lot of labor. I mean, if you've got the if you've got the Word file or whatever, change a few things, take out a sentence, whatever you need to do,
Yep.
And print a copy for the
Yep.
store. So I think that could be done, and it might make it easier for a store manager to accept something like that if they know it'll be customized to conform to what their policies already are.
That's a good insight.
Has anybody else on the call done anything with restaurants or grocery stores that you have tried to make some changes and would like to give us some insight on that? If anybody has done anything like that?
One thing I had done, this was years ago when the plastics issue first became like really a concern, was I made up some business cards, and at the end of a meal at the restaurant with the receipt that I'd signed for a bill, I put in the little business card which said, please stop offering straws, basically. You know, can we skip the straws if they're plastic? I prefer paper or none at all. And I explained why, and I gave them a link to a website which said, you know, why plastic is bad for you. And I
Nice.
started handing them out like in packs of 5 to my girlfriends, and they all disappeared, so they all got dispersed. But did they make a difference? Only one restaurant that I know of, the next time I returned to it, they were having paper straws. I'm like, yes.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah. I was like, yeah. I was like, but that was 1 out of 30 probably, you know, but it's a start, you know.
Nice.
Well, I have a question about your conversations with the grocers. The idea of using bags makes sense. Bringing in home containers, and that would apply to the restaurants too, Janet. Are there health issues or health guidance that prevents them from being able to say, yeah, bring in your own bowl and serve yourself? Or is
Well,
that
I could answer that with one response. We go to, at the end of this Renaissance Academy that we attend, it's all senior citizens, and we go to this golf course that has a restaurant within it. And let's face it, senior citizens tend to bring their own bags and they take their leftovers, and it's a buffet. So you really shouldn't be doing that. And the restaurants put a stop to it. They said, absolutely none of you can do that because it is a health risk. That if you take it home and you get sick, then we get blamed for it. And we don't know how you had kept it, how you maintained it, how you packaged it and such. So that was one of their concerns. But they did say, no, you can't do that anymore. With the explanation, it's a health concern. They didn't give the details or the bill or whatever, but it just made sense as far as fiscally. But health-wise, it's not a bad thing to do.
A couple of the grocers mentioned something like that also. That
Okay.
They didn't want people bringing in their own bags because they didn't know what was in them, and if people got sick afterwards, that they would have to take the blame.
Oh, that
Yeah.
sounds like all the
Hogwash.
excuses during COVID, but.
Yeah, no, that's hogwash. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, I can't imagine that that's a legitimate concern.
Jennifer, you had your,
Oh, just that, and I don't know the specific laws, but my understanding was there were health laws that, like, if I were in a grocery store and I think of the deli counter or the butcher's counter,
Mhm.
that they can't take my counter back behind theirs, or they can't take my container back behind their counter. There were rules against that. In a restaurant, if you're served at your table and you have leftovers, you certainly can pull your container out of your purse and use it. But that's different than having your container at the buffet. That's kind of just like the grocery store. And I don't know the name of the laws, but I know there's laws about those grocery stores taking that container back behind the counter, which is very aggravating.
Yeah.
When you don't want those materials, but
Yeah, that makes more sense though. I can
so
understand that.
complicated.
Yeah, but it certainly wouldn't affect bags. I mean, you know, bags
No.
for
Right.
groceries.
And during COVID, I mean, we all have our stories, but then at COVID, I used, just put it in the cart, and then
I
I
did
would
that
go
too,
and I'd put it
right.
in my own bags or put it directly into my car. But
Right.
those things were awful. Like that, our bags couldn't even be up on the conveyor belt.
I know, it was like,
Yeah.
everybody was like, yeah.
And I guess Paul knows, like when managers are starting to say stuff like that to him, then he's probably hitting a dead end anyway. But
Yeah, that was one of the things that was on your initial handout, Paul, was we support the use of bags brought from home and home containers. I didn't know if that led to a lot of conversation, the home container part of it.
There were some, but not a lot.
Hmm.
and that is a part of the toolkit that's out there it's made by various people, but the farmers market toolkit, that's a little, I mean, it's the same thing. You can use your own container, but it's kind of because you're doing it right there. Anyway, the farmers market toolkit that's available is pretty good on these issues.
Well, folks, for some reason, I am getting a warning that our meeting is going to be ended in 6 minutes. I have no reason understanding why. This is, we paid for this account. I don't know, I'll have to talk to our owner and try and figure this out. But before I go, Paul, could you give me back the host? You know how to do that? You go into the participant list and then next to your name, next to my name is not on there. My name is listed as Jim. This is another weird thing. Just go and click on the 3 dotted lines next to Jim and say make host.
What you could do is if we get kicked off, all you have to do is you log in and we log in again. You got another half hour.
That's true, yeah, but I actually had only really thought I didn't want to take too much people's time up for this.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. But this is, we have to figure this out. Are you figuring that out, Paul?
I clicked on you to make you host. Did it not happen?
No, it did. It did. You're the host, Jim.
Oh, yeah, I see it, right. Okay, good, okay. Well, thank you for your time coming, and Paul, if you are inclined to try a plan B, and you want to share some success stories or some suggestions next time, please let me know and we'll do a follow-up. If anybody listening to this Zoom has any ideas or will try some of these, please feel free to do so and then get back to me. And, I'd like to see if you would share your experiences doing this as well. If you're shy to be on camera or anything, just let me know and we'll figure out some way to get your message across and, communicate with this others. We want to keep this momentum going. And finally, during this time of the summer, as Sharon has asked for people to help with tabling at different events, farmers markets, festivals, there's all sorts of green fairs and things like that going on. If
Can
you
I
know of
say-
something in your area, please let me know and I could put out a call for other people to see who might be interested in helping. Yeah, Sharon?
Yeah, if I could just say a couple of words about the Libertyville Farmers Markets. We've got 3 dates and we've got plenty of volunteers. Thank you all for those of you who volunteered. We're in good shape. And I will go on the IEC website or into the meeting notice that I got and get that. I didn't realize there was a farmers market toolkit, which is great. I want to use that. So we'll do that and I'll share it with those of you who are helping me with the Libertyville farmers market tables. So, and if anybody wants to do this at their farmers markets and in other municipalities, let me know. I can, give you a lot of ideas and help perhaps. So please keep me in mind as a resource.
Right.
Sharon, I'll email you the link for the toolkit when the
Oh.
Zoom's over.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Well, thank you all for your time. And I see I got 3 minutes left, so I don't want to miss my closing my recording. So next month on what is next month going to be? July, August 20th. Anu is going to talk about her experiences with Mariano's. She had some different stories and some different experiences, and so she's going to be our guest speaker for that month. So hopefully you all can join then and see what's going on in that world as well. All right, well, thanks, folks, and I'm going to end the let's see, stop recording.